it sounds better to say I can drink more beer than you, son, than I can drink more beer than you, daughter. Oh, hi. Massachusetts beer review. We got the cousin Matt again from our pretty crazy Christmas review of some Mad Elf Ale. That was some Mad Elf Ale, wasn't it? We got a specialty beer for you. You probably heard of Chimay. That's being a Trappist beer in a lot of these different breweries. I hate to admit that I don't remember them all. West 11, maybe I got that name wrong. Posting it in the comments, in the description, sorry, below. Those are official Trappist beers, which means that they're brewed in monasteries by the monks. And we haven't had a beer in the United States that's been truly a Trappist beer until now. And it is called the Spencer Trappist Ale American Trappist. There it is, guys. It is from Spencer, Massachusetts. The first Trappist beer brewed in America. I've had it a couple times. It is quite awesome. Bottled and brewed by the Spencer Brewery LLC, Spencer, Mass. It is brewed in St. Joseph's Abbey in Spencer, Mass. It says here on the back of the bottle, inspired by traditional refractory ales brewed by the monks for the monks' table, Spencer is a full-bodied, golden-hued Trappist ale with fruity accents, a dry finish, and light hop bitterness. Here, St. Joseph's Abbey is in Spencer, Mass. It's home to a community of Trappist monks, and the first American Trappist brewery. Da, 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 da. Following the Benedictine tradition of Ole Ote Lampurle, work and play, the monks pursue a simple life of contemplative prayer, manual labor, and hospitality. The brewery helps support the monks in their charitable outreach. They're not supposed to be brewing beers in the typical Trappist sense, where they're doing it for profit. It's got to be secondary to their common goal of religion and whatever. Da 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 da. This beer is, didn't it say on the bottle, Matt? 6.5% alcohol by volume, 11.2 fluid ounces. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's see how good a Trappist beer is from America. See if it's quite like the Belgians brew. We will find out. We will find out. Serve in a chalice or a tulip-style glass is what it sort of pictures right there to the left. They have their own glass, but anyways, pour this 2/3 of the way in. It's bottle conditioned. Alright. Let's swirl. Get rid of the sediment. Swish, swish. And we have our Golden Abbey style ale. Alright. Let's hold our glasses up to the camera. What are we getting here? It's got a nice copper orangey color. I wouldn't say it's quite golden, but maybe that's more to the style than I realized.
I mean, it does have that. I mean, it's got a little bit of a golden hue.
It's got a tiny bit of sediment.
You can definitely see the sediment.
It's very light once we swirled it around. Very nice, bright white head. It's about a finger, pinky, no, just a finger, normal finger. Tight white bubbles.
I got about 2 fingers.
Tight white bubbles. Very copper and a little bit of haze. There's definitely haze with a little bit of the sediment in there. So yeah, it's looking quite traditional to a Trappist beer. Let's give it a smell test. There's a lot of that.
I'm getting that sort of.
I get like a clove and a banana. Where were you going with that?
I get almost that like metallic-y sort of.
Really? I'm not picking up on that personally right now. Maybe I can see where you're going with that. It could have been from the brew kettles. Maybe. They have that Spencer. I'm getting a lot of clove and banana, almost like a Hefeweizen. There's a little bit of a hop spiciness I'm getting, and I'm getting a little bit of that typical Belgian yeast, which will give you a little bit of that sour and almost earthy, funky type of a smell. Anything to add before we taste the beer?
No.
Looking good,
It
son.
maybe got a
It's
little bit
looking
of
real tasty.
maybe a little bit of like a florally sort of.
Yeah. It's a little spicy, florally hops. I'll go with that. Cheers, everybody. Trappist Ale, Spencer Trappist. It definitely has a nice malt sweetness.
Yeah,
And I still would say, just like in the nose, there's a good amount of a banana type of a flavor.
Yeah, I definitely get a sweet sort of taste to it.
And it definitely has that typical Belgian yeasty kind of a taste, which gives it that almost like an earthy, funky type of a taste. It's funky in a good way. If you know about different kinds of Belgian beers, saisons, some kinds of wit beers, Abbey ales like a double and a triple, you'll know what I mean by that funky kind of a taste. It's not an off-putting taste. It definitely rounds out with this sour note and a little bit of like a barnyardy kind of a thing going on.
Yeah, I definitely get a very spicy aftertaste to it.
Definitely has a good, I think to his point here, it's got a good coriander note maybe in there somewhere, and it's got, free of charge, and it's got a nice hop spice. And it's so similar to me to almost like a Hefeweizen, like a wheat beer. It's got a lot of that wheat beer quality to it to me. I don't know if you're getting some of that wheat beer, like maybe some of the barley or whatever they're using, maybe some of the grains they're using to brew.
Yeah.
Free of charge again.
Maybe see that.
So, I think it's a pretty solid beer that we're drinking right now. We're going to let this sit for a little bit. We're going to come back for the second half of the show for our final thoughts and grades on Spencer Trappist Ale. Authentic Trappist Ale. Authentic Trappist product. Stay tuned. As was beer review, we're back for the second half of our Spencer Trappist Ale from Spencer, Mass. It is very good beer. It is very good beer, he's right. I'm not sure, I forget, I didn't even keep track. I apologize for how long we let this thing warm up. It's warmed up slightly. I don't think it's towards room temperature yet. I don't think it's too different. Let's get another taste on that and see what we think here. It's pretty much the same. You get the banana type flavors and the cloves type flavors, a little, maybe like a coriander type spice. There's that nice malt sweetness that's very light, but it is into the beer where it's noticeable.
I'd agree. I mean, as I taste it more, I maybe can see how you get the banana out of it. At first I didn't quite see it, but you know, as you start drinking it more, maybe you start getting more hints.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing that I wanted to mention is it still retains a lot of that Belgian yeast flavor. That Belgian yeast flavor has that barnyardy, earthy kind of a flavor. It's a little funky in a good way. Like I say, if you tasted Belgian beers, you know what I mean, you people out there in the craft beer community. Last thing we're going to do before we grade the beer, because we didn't really talk about it quite yet, is the mouth feel and the drinkability to the beer. So let's assess that and we'll get on with the rating. Crisp. It's very refreshing. Yeah, I guess you could say it's clean. It's medium on the light side. I think it's on the light side of medium. It's not I wouldn't call this a tremendously heavy beer. I can see how you could do this at the monastery, this particular style of beer. I can say I could do this at the monastery as just being a table beer, meaning you can put it on the table and just have it for whatever time of the day and whatever you need it for. I think this to me could be a very good chameleon of a beer, meaning you can probably have this beer with a lot of different things and a lot of different foods, activities. Once again, like the table beer, you can just have it during whatever you're doing.
I'd agree with that. But I mean, I guess if another comment, I mean, I have a good lacing. On
Yes,
my
let's
beer.
get our picture of Foam
So-
Shipyard Pugsley
And
Signature
that's been
Series.
pretty consistent throughout.
There it is. There's your legs on that beer. My overall assessment of the Trappist Ale, Spencer Trappist Ale, is definitely going to be a 4 out of 5. Definitely gets an A minus. That's what I'll give it. Really an excellent beer and one of the best that I think I've had in Massachusetts. I will say that, guys.
If I was to rate it out of a 6-pack, and meaning, you know, how many beers could I drink of this before I just got sick of it and needed to drink something else?
Absolutely. What would
I think
where are you
I
going?
think I'd be about 2 to 3 beers. So if I had a 6-pack, I could drink 2 to 3 beers fairly easily before I just like, okay, I need something else.
Yeah, I think
you know.
I think maybe to your point, I think maybe it could have a bit of a, and like I say in a lot of these videos, I may be saying this way too often, it may have a little bit too much of a sweetness to make this something you want to keep going back and back and back to. The sweetness could get annoying after a while.
Yeah, I mean, if I was to rate it just on like a single, so like if this is the one bottle I had, I think
The only beer of the night you're talking about.
Yeah, or at least the only beer of this, you know. So if I didn't have a 6-pack, someone just said, "Here's this bottle of Spencer."
Where you are now.
Yeah,
yeah.
here's a bottle of Spencer. What do you think?
You've never had it.
I think I'd rated it around maybe a 7.5 out of 10. Maybe approaching 80, depending on the day that it was.
That's a solid 3.5, I would have to say, on our Masters Beer Review ratings out of 5. Definitely. We definitely both find this at least to be an above average beer, and at least to my preference, and at least to my ratings, borderline exceptional. But we're going to leave it at this is definitely an exceptional beer, definitely above average at most. And grab a beer. And until next time, keep tasting those great beers, everybody. Cheers.